Hello, everyone. My name is Maya. I and my husband, Kell, have been married for almost 4 years. We're both 26, and we already have a 3-year-old son. Kell only had his aunt from his side of the family that he was close to. But recently his mother has been trying to make a comeback, and I don't think her intentions are as well as she makes them out to be. See, Kell's father died when he was just 5 years of age, leaving his mother, Farrah, to take care of him alone. However, Farah went into a deep depression after she lost her husband, whom she loved immensely. And this meant that Kell was left alone to deal with not only his own feelings, but his mother's as well, at only 5 years of age. Lucky, I'd say, Farah's sister, Rebecca, stepped up. She was an unmarried woman back then, but took care of Kell like her own son while keeping an eye out for her sister, and her well-being as well. It was Rebecca who attended Kell's school games, and she was the one involved in Kell's academic life, while Farah wasted away in their house. A few years went by this way, and Rebecca was practically raising Kell alone, when Farah began pulling herself together. She went back and got herself a job. However, she continued to drink. Half of the time, she was at home and passing out. Kell confided in me that he did not really feel close to his mother. Instead, he thought of Rebecca as his mom and once even asked her if she could adopt him. Soon, Rebecca herself had kids, and Kell became even more involved with her family, helping her around when they were born by cooking for her. I think it was his way of repaying Rebecca for her kindness, but he's also the type of person who looks out for others more than himself. Well, as my husband turned 18, Farah had shown no interest in her son and treated him like a housemate instead of her own kid. But a few months before Kell's university started, while he was in the middle of taking exams, Farah threw him out of her home. She claimed that he was old enough to fend for himself and live on his own, and she didn't want any more headaches, as she said it. Then she got her new little boyfriend to live with her, and Kell had gone to live with his aunt, who welcomed him with open arms. But I know my husband was truly hurt by his mother's actions. I mean, who wouldn't be? He had grown super depressed at being so easily discarded by his own mom, and he barely would pass his exam. Rebecca, she was the one who helped him move into university's dorm. Everything Farrah should have done with Kell, Rebecca did. She treated him like her own son for all his life and still does. It was in university where I met my husband. He says that he was in a dark place with everything happening with his mom, and I was the light to his dark eyes. I think he over-exaggerates his dark days, but hey, it's sweet when he tells me it. He says that hanging out with me just gave him respite from bad thoughts about being abandoned by his mother so easily. I'm just grateful that I helped him through the worst part of it, even though I didn't know what he was going through in his head back then. Well, we were dating by our 2nd year and thinking about getting married in our 3rd. By the end of our 4th year, he had proposed, and we were imagining having loads of kids. We had only just graduated when we went and had a court marriage. Just Kell and I with our closest friends and Rebecca. We wanted to have some fun as a married couple before both of our jobs began in the upcoming months. I had just begun working for my father in our family business when I found out that I was pregnant. We'd always wanted to have children, but neither of us were sure if it was the right time yet. But as time went by, we started getting really excited for the arrival of the baby. Kell told me that he wanted to introduce me and our unborn son to his mother, wishing to smooth things over so his son would have a grandma. But the meeting did not go as Kell had planned. See, Farah was being very dismissive of us and our news. She didn't seem very excited that she was having a grandson and just congratulated us like you do a stranger. She then dismissed us, saying that she had a nail appointment. Kell later remarked that he was shocked to see his mother in such expensive clothing. When I thought back on it, I did see a luxury bag and expensive-looking watch on her as well, and Kell just explained that the house looked remodeled and luxurious and claimed that he did not grow up particularly wealthy. Farah's parents had given her some money when they passed away, but it wasn't that much. However, Kell's suspicions were drowned away when our son arrived a few weeks early. Luckily, he was healthy and only had to stay in the hospital for a few more days than usual. We didn't think about Farah for years after that. Rebecca took on the role of his grandmother, and we were lucky to have her in our life. To be specific, we did not think of Farah again for 3 years, until she came a-knocking right there on the door about a month ago. Kell and I were both shocked at her presence in our home, as she had never really shown any interest in us, not even when we went to meet her ourselves. This was highly suspicious to both of us, and Farah revealed that she wanted to be our son's grandmother. I almost laughed at her because that was an odd request. You can't just be someone's grandmother just because you want to be all of a sudden, and after ignoring their existence since they were born. But she insisted that she had regretted how she treated us ever since we told her the news. I wasn't convinced, because if she truly regretted it ever since that day, why didn't she come and apologize for years? I smelled something fishy. I just don't really know what. Farah tried to melt Kell by claiming that she knew that she had been a horrible mother to him, and she just wanted to rectify her mistakes by being in his and her grandson's life. After a lot of pleading and a few tears, we decided to let Farah meet our son. Outwardly, it seemed like she was okay with our son. She rocked him on her hips while talking to him about his favorite toys, just like Rebecca did. But last week, Farah requested to take our son home with her for a few hours every day. Well, that gave me immense anxiety because I've heard horror stories from Rebecca about how Farah treated Kell. Rebecca had told me that she once forgot Kell at the grocery shop when he was just 8 years of age, and then did not pick up the store manager's calls for hours. Kell ended up having to wait in the police station for an hour before she came to pick him up. She even told me about how Farah once went on a vacation with one of her boyfriends, without informing Kell about it. Yep, he was 11 years old. Kell panicked when his mother did not return all night and called Rebecca crying. Farah clearly has a habit of forgetting that she's responsible for a kid, and by the looks of it, Kell is not forgotten either. He immediately refused to let her take our son out, or he's not going to let her go out of sight. But Farah just began crying, saying that it's not fair and that she was not being given a second chance. She cried and cried that she was trying to mend the relationships that she's broken with Kell, and he was not the one cooperating. I don't know how Farah figured it out without actually knowing her son, but Kell's biggest weakness is people crying. Kell gets so sad whenever our son cries, and watching a grown woman cry made him grow a bit gentle and rethink his decision. So, Kell tried to reassure her by telling her that he needed to think about it, and after we had talked, only then would we give her an answer. It's been a week, and we still have not come to a conclusion. I do not wish for Farah to take our son, and neither does Kell, but I know that Kell wants his mother in his life, even though he pretends otherwise. He's been too hurt not to want what was never given to him voluntarily before. He has basically left his decision to me, not wishing to make the wrong one because of his desperation, and I've been thinking a lot, and people can change, and by the looks of it, Farah is a changed woman. But can someone change so drastically in 3 years? I know I will feel anxious when my son is gone. Maybe I'm just being overprotective of my boy, and I should give Farah the opportunity to give my son a grandmother that he deserves. I really don't know what to do in such a situation. Can a person really change that much? Should I give her a chance for the sake of my husband? What's up, everybody? Mr. Redito here. So, the comment section was very split up. Some people are like, don't you dare give that boy to that grandma. And other people are like, yes, let her get another chance. But here, let's check out 2 comments before we hop into the first update. Comment number 1 comes from Ash294. It says, it's suspicious that your mother-in-law wants to come back into your life after all these years and completely ignore you guys of your existence. I would be wondering if something happened with her for her to do so. I would be digging into finding out the hidden motive behind her move. Maybe she's truly regretting the way she treated your husband, but what made her regret it all of a sudden? Maybe her sister knows more about what's happening with her if they are still close. But I would not trust her if I were you, especially not with my own kid. You're right to be anxious and being cautious about her. Well, and so is your husband, who's been burnt by her over and over. I do hope it's nothing, though, for you guys and for the sake of the boy. Comment number 2 from Greege48 says, I think you should just give your mother-in-law a chance. People change all the time. Sometimes they don't realize the value of relations until later on. Maybe Farah had not realized the mistakes that she made until your husband introduced you and your unborn child to her. And maybe she was too ashamed to come see you for the past 3 years. Don't judge her on the basis of her past mistakes. If she truly claims to be a changed woman, give her a chance, reconnect with her son, and bond with her grandson. Of course, if she had done something suspicious and wrong at that time, I would be advising the opposite. But so far, it seems like she wants to come back into her son's life. And maybe your son is her way of proving it to him. Just make sure to keep an eye out on how your son behaves around Farah and how she is treating him. Update number 1. Hey guys, it's Maya again. So 3 days ago, I told you about my mother-in-law making a comeback into my husband's life after throwing her out when he was just 18 years of age. And now she wants to take my son and bond with him, right? I read through your comments and maybe you're right. People do change. I know so many people who have made mistakes in their life only to regret them and spend so much time rectifying them. So maybe Farah is one of them too. Maybe she does want to bond with my son and show Kell that she has changed. Especially because she was not, committed to him even when he was just a toddler. Maybe it's her way of proving to him that she is indeed a changed person. I discussed this with Kell, and the both of us reluctantly agreed to let Farah take our sons home with her every day for about 2 hours. So far, there have been no complaints. I made sure to ask my son what they did, and he seems happy so far, even though I'm wrecked with worry whenever he's out with his grandmother, who out of the blue wants to be in our life. Kell and I have not yet revealed to Rebecca that Farah had come back and wanted to be our son's grandma. We didn't want to do so because for the past 3 years it's been Rebecca who's been his grandma in all the ways that matter. And we didn't want to hurt her feelings or tell her that we were giving Farah a chance to replace her. Even though there's no way to replace Rebecca from our son's life ever, I went down to her house today and told her how Farah had made a comeback into our lives about a month ago and took our son away to bond with him. Rebecca had not been offended by it, thankfully, and seemed to deeply think about what Farah's motives might be behind all this. She revealed that she's actually shocked that Farah wants to do anything with my son at all. She told me that she was not the one who wanted kids in the first place. It was Kell's father who wanted it. She recalled things about Kell's infancy that he didn't even know. She claimed that Farah barely knew how to change a diaper, and Rebecca had to teach herself to teach Farah so Kell would not get sick. She recalled how Farah did not care about how much Kell cried, even when he was just an infant. She claimed that he would stop throwing a temper tantrum once he realized his mother would not come and pick him up, and just because he was crying. She said that it was hard to watch a mother treat her newborn son like he could be reasoned with somehow. She also claimed that it had been Kell's father who took care of him for the 5 years that he was alive in Kell's life. Farah was often too busy in her own little life to really care about Kell. I hadn't known all this at all, and I suspect neither does Kell. Rebecca claimed that Kell's father had been single-handedly taking care of their son, and was practically a single dad. That was why Rebecca had been full of dread when he died. All of this only spiked my anxiety levels to the moon. After hearing their horror stories from Kell's infancy, even he doesn't remember. I don't trust Farah. But Rebecca has promised to find out why Farah has had a change of heart for me. However, I can't just sit still in the meantime and have decided to keep a closer eye on Farah. And I mean that quite literally. Anyways, whatever happens, I'll keep you guys updated. What's up, everybody? So the next update comes out 2 days later. It's update number 2, and Maya has something to say. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, take a second, hit that button if you're enjoying today's video. And here is the update. It's Maya. It's been 2 days, so... In my last update, I told you that I've decided to keep a closer eye on Farah and what she did once she took my son with her. I've decided to follow her to her house and see exactly how she and my son had spent their time together. I even took a day off from work to go follow Farah after she took my boy with her. I know where she lives, and I won't even have to follow her around, scared that she would spot me before my work is done. I let her get a 10-minute head start and then got in my car and followed her to her home. When I peeked into the window, I was shocked to find Farah smoking a cigarette while having my son in her lap. I immediately saw red and started knocking aggressively on her window. How dare she smoke a ciggy while holding my boy? I rounded the front door and started knocking until she opened it. The cigarette was nowhere to be found, but I snatched my son from her arms immediately. She starts yelling at me for taking her grandson away and how I could not just barge into her house and take her grandson time. I reminded her that she had been smoking with a little toddler with her. She said that it wasn't a biggie deal. She did it all the time with Kell and that I'm overreacting, and that made me super agitated, and I immediately called my husband. When he got there, he also blamed Farah, and that's when she began to calm down and started to see where she had gone wrong. She accepted that maybe smoking in the presence of a toddler wasn't her brightest idea, and promised to never repeat that again. Kell looked shocked at that, likely because he had not seen his mother apologize for much until very recently. Then she went on to say that she's truly trying to be a better mother to Kell and a better grandmother to our son. She would make mistakes on her way, but she promised that she was trying her best. Well, Kell was not convinced, and neither was I. We told her that if she wanted to spend time with her son, she would have to do it at our house. It's incredibly anxiety-inducing for both of us to hand our toddler to practically a stranger every day. She was a quick one to adapt to these conditions, which seems suspicious to me, unless she's truly eager to spend quality time with her grandson. I don't know what's happening, but smoking in the presence of a kid is quite stupid. Smoking is bad for the smoker, so why wouldn't it be bad for the kid in her lap? I don't think she's changed. I don't know what she wants, but I know my son is not safe with her alone. And I'll make sure that she's never left alone with him until I'm sure that she can keep him healthy and safe. However, I did notice a peculiar thing. Farah's house was no longer as luxurious as it was 3 years ago, when we had gone to meet her. I quickly noticed that she did not carry any expensive bags with her either. The luxurious sofa that I remember from all those years ago was gone. I think it's worth taking a note. I wonder what that means. For now, we can only hope that all Farrah wants is some bonding time with my son and nothing else, because otherwise I wouldn't waste a minute in showing Farah her righteous place. Update number 3. Hey guys, it's Maya here again with another update. It's been some time since my last one, almost 3 weeks in fact, and everything had been going just dandy until recently. Farah had been coming over almost daily in these 3 weeks to not only meet her grandson, but also Kell and me. She would bring us cookies when Kell would be around, and sometimes even have lunch with us. I could see Kell melting for her, and honestly speaking, so was I. Farah truly seemed to be transformed of a woman who wanted to right past wrongs, and we didn't want to be the people who did not give her a chance to do. Kell has been trying to get over everything that happened in his childhood and just move on from it. Until our dinner with Rebecca 2 nights ago. She was still not a fan of Farah and had been looking into the possible reasons why Farah wanted to return to Kell's life. She revealed that she found something. She revealed that for the past 3 years, Farah has been married to a rich man. Well, that explained why Kell noticed her expensive clothing and expensive furniture in her house when we visited her all those years ago. However, her husband recently left her and is asking for a divorce. The problem is that Farah likely signed a prenup and can no longer get money through her rich husband, and is trying to cozy up to us so she can start asking us for money. She also revealed that she has no job, and from the people she asked, Farah has not been trying to get one either. Well, Kell didn't believe it, and I saw Rebecca was hurt by this, and Kell claimed that we were making a lot of assumptions about the situation, just to make it seem like Farah was there for some evil intention. I did, however, bring up my observation from the last update to them. Rebecca caught on to it and pressed that it was only proof of her claims. Kell had shut down and went back to our bedroom just to process everything, and Rebecca claimed that she just wanted to keep him safe. I knew she was telling us everything that she found out to keep us from getting hurt, and I trusted her so much. And all I said is true. I trust Rebecca, and so does Kell. We had started getting suspicious of Farah. I just felt like her presence in my house had been a ticking bomb for the past week. Today, see, Farah showed us her true colors when she asked Kell if he could help her financially with something. I saw my husband give up at that moment, and his shoulders slumped down, and he tiredly asked his mother to leave. Farah had been confused, so I interjected that we knew why she had returned to our lives, and we did not wish to give her our money, and that she should leave. Farah had been offended by our reaction, had grown mad that we did not even give her a chance to explain. She tried to tell us that it was just her couch that needed replacing, but Kell had opened the door, and I had threatened her to call the cops on her if she didn't leave. Farah had stood there deciding what to do for a second, but at least she left us alone at last. It hasn't been spoken, but there's no way either of us are ever going to contact Farah again. Kell is very disappointed in his mom, and I really feel bad about it, but I guess there's nothing that we can do. Update number 4. Hey guys, it's Maya again. It hasn't been long since my last update, only about 3 days. But a lot has happened in these 3 days, and I thought I would give you guys an update. After we had thrown my mother-in-law out of our house that day, we had thought it was the last time we were seeing or hearing her. I was wrong. Me and my son were doing our regular morning routine. I was getting my office set up as I put my son in his playing pen in the same room. I had left my phone in my bedroom, and I went to retrieve it. When my back was to the door, somebody shut it, making me jump in fear. I knocked on the door, asking the person to open it before I called the police. Then I heard Farah's voice telling me that I better not call the law. She said that she was only taking her grandson away until me and Kell gave her some money. She promised to not harm our son in any sort of way unless we forced her to by refusing to give her money. I screamed and cried for her to open the door, but she did not care, and I distinctively heard the front door shut. I ran to the bedroom window and watched as she put my son in the passenger seat, behind the seat belt, and go. I decided to climb down from the window because I knew I could not budge the door. I was only on the first floor, and I'm in a hurry. I didn't care that it was not the best thing to do. I tried to lean on the tree a few feet further away from the window, and almost fell down scraping all my knee. I called Kell on my way to the car. I was going to Farrah's house to take my son back, even if I had to physically wrestle her. See, Kell had grown concerned immediately and told me to stay put as he rushed back home. But I couldn't wait and went to Farrah's house only to find it empty of Farrah and my son. I looked into every window, even though Farrah's car was missing in the driveway. Kell knew me well enough to know that I was not going to wait for him and came directly to Farrah's house himself. Kell told me not to stress so much. He claimed that he had a plan, that he took me to his office while I told him everything that Farrah said to me. When we got to his office, some of his colleagues had everything set up. Farrah might be Kell's mother, but she does not know her son at all. Because if she did, she would have known that he works in cybersecurity. Kell called her, and thankfully she picked up the phone. His friends got to track her number while he tried to talk some sense into Farrah. But Farrah just gave him the same old speech as she gave me. But his colleagues had tracked the number and knew Farrah's exact pinned location. That's when cops were called about Farrah's location and a kidnapping. They immediately went to the grocery store that she's been waiting at and arrested her. Apparently, she truly did not think we would wait it out and thought that we would immediately give her the money and thought that a grocery store 30 minutes from our house was the best place to hide. Fortunately, our son was all right and Farrah had not harmed him in any way. But she had kidnapped my son, even though it was only for 2 hours, and we planned to make her regret all her decisions up until now. It was also anxiety-inducing, and I was shaken by the time I was reunited with my son, crying into his little head. It was also scary. I was coming up with so many horrible scenarios while my son was taken from me. It all felt like such a cruel nightmare. At the end of everything, I called Rebecca over. She graciously let Kell cry into her shoulder as we told her everything. Final update, update 5. Hey guys, it's Maya here again. It's been 3 months since my last update where I told you that my mother-in-law kidnapped my son so we would give her money for a safe return. Well, we just won the case against her and she's going to jail for kidnapping. It wasn't a difficult case, it was clear that she was guilty, and the jury saw it just as clear. She won't be able to hurt my son or husband ever again after this because she'll be spending almost a decade behind bars for the crime that she committed. Kell isn't dealing well with all this, as you can imagine. He's kind of been withdrawn. I think that he's ashamed that he fell for his mother's manipulations and tricks, even after he knew better. He had panicked so much when I told him that I'd asked Rebecca to come by the day Farrah did what she did, so we could tell her what happened. He was very embarrassed that he had not trusted Rebecca back when she had warned us, but Rebecca is an angel and she reassured him. It didn't matter. She was just happy that we were all safe and sound and that Farrah would not be able to hurt us again. Our son is doing pretty well too, if I'm honest. He doesn't really understand what happened and I'm glad for it. I don't think he even remembers Farrah all these months later, and that's amazing for him. At least she could not traumatize my son, even if she traumatized Kell and me by kidnapping him. Kell and I have gotten cameras and alarms all around our house now to make it even safer. We know Farrah can't enter our house again, but clearly it's not safe and people can walk in. We feel much safer with the security system now, so thank you for reading this. It's pretty much all I have to say. It truly helped to know that I had a sympathetic ear to listen to my rants.